My name is Dave McCready, and I'm an actor, and I'm playing in the play, The Flame Haired Dynamo. I am, in fact, the Flame Haired Dynamo. No accessories apart from a very long, curly ginger wig, Kevin Keegan style, but ginger. No, curly. Yeah.
Do you wear it often when you're out and about?
I wear it on a Friday, just on a Friday night, just when I'm on Prinny Ave.
Down Prinny Ave?
Yeah, Larkin Lynn, it's about 7:30. It's about this guy called Chris McCann who, when he was a kid, he read all these comics, and his favourite comic character was this guy, Titch McCreevy, the Flame Haired Dynamo. He was a footballer who, kind of like Roy of the Rovers and Alf Tupper, he always won, and when he wasn't winning football games, he was solving crimes and foiling robberies and stuff like that. And Chris, it's Christmas, he's a bit skint, he's not having a really good time, and somehow, inadvertently, he gets transported into the comic. So he becomes part of the stories he's been reading. And also he's transported back into 1978, so he spends most of the play as a 13-year-old as well. So there's a lot of time travelling. My costumes are fab. It's 1978, so clearly you're too young to remember that far back.
I've seen photographs.
Yeah. There are a lot of flares, a lot of nice suits, and most of us play a couple of different characters. But when I'm Titch McCreevy, at one point I go to a nightclub, so I'm a footballer in the 70s in a nightclub. It's worth coming just for the shirt and the bright red flared trousers.
And do you wear them on Prinny Ave on Friday?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just in case I see you.
Well, I mean, you're not going to miss me. A gold lame shirt, a black leopard skin jacket, and red flares. Very tight at the top and very slack at the bottom. Nothing wrong with it.
Are you enjoying it then?
I'm having a great time, yeah. I normally don't get nice costumes. No, not at all. Because I'm normally killing people or beating them up, you see, so now I'm the hero. I get nice hair and a smart suit. He spends most of his time in the attic. As an adult, he's reading these magazines, so it starts off, it's an attic, and then there's 3 other, it becomes a living room in the 70s, and a changing room in the 70s as well. So it's all very clever. And what's brilliant is I've got an animator to draw all the stories. So when we're in the 70s in the comic book scenes, we're at the front acting, and on the back wall, all the animations as if it were a cartoon. So it's multi, light, music, animation. So it's not a traditional Christmas show, but it's very, it's set at Christmas. And it's mad, really interesting and fun to do, and obviously fun to watch as well. Well, yesterday, during one of the scenes, we didn't have the music, so I had to sing a Boney M song, Mary's Boy Child.
Would you care to give us a version?
I did a little bit of long time ago in Bethlehem, so the Holy Bible said. Mary's boy child, Jesus Christ, was born on Christmas Day.
And I'm Mick Martin, and I'm the writer of The Flame Haired Dynamo. It's about a guy who's having a bad time in his life, and a lot of things are not going well for him. He's in between work and his relationship and so on. He's kind of withdrawing from the world into the stories of his childhood that he used to like. And The Flame Haired Dynamo in Venture Comics was his absolute favourite one as a kid. He bought the comic every week and he loved it. And basically he starts retreating back into it. And suddenly through it, basically, if you like, he re-enters his 13-year-old self when he got the particular Christmas annual that it's all about.
My name's James Weaver, and I'm playing Christopher McCann in the play. Yeah, well, the exciting bit from the actor's point of view with my character certainly is that I get to go back in time to 1978 and go into the world of the comic which is great fun because it's a little bit like being in Back to the Future. And then going into the comic is fantastic because you're playing with actors who are playing the characters in the comic book, and I get to play with the reality with the audience as well, to take them on this journey with the reality of the comic book being in that world and the reality of another character who's reading the comic book, looking into it, and I'm acting with her and the characters in it, whilst being within that a character in the comic book myself at that point in time. So the acting styles, obviously we haven't got it on its feet yet in rehearsal room, but we're about to do that. But the acting styles are going to be very sort of animated anyway. They have to be, obviously. So there's got to be this kind of slight balance there between the animated cartoon characters and the fact that my character is in this world. He's been dropped into this world. So I'm really looking forward to that. It just sounds like a lot of fun. You know, it's real kind of childish imagination. So, being thrown into that world. So I'm really looking forward to that.
My name is Pip Leckenby and I'm the second costume designer for FLAME HAIRED DYNAMO. It's a bit different, yes. We've got real life now, and we've got 1978 where Chris goes back to his childhood, and then he goes into Fellsworth, into the comic book, the Adventure comic books. So I've had to do quite a lot of research on 70s things, and then comics as well, boys comics, which I didn't get into when I was a kid. It's exaggerating the 70s look. I mean, I've bought myself numerous annual ones of Roy of the Rovers and things, and it's all the flared trousers. We're actually recutting them so that they're just a bit more exaggerated than they actually were in the 70s, so you get a different look. And a colour scheme as well. We've chosen a colour scheme that goes with the comics, so it's red, yellow, black and white, and we're sticking with that for anything in the comic book. I mean, it's a collaboration between myself and the director, and with a new play, very often with the writer as well. So you're working together, and the director is the boss, and you work from that. And you collaborate all the way through the process. Unfortunately, in the costume fittings, there's an awful lot of, my mum wore that, and because I was sort of 12 when the 70s era was, and so I remember it really quite well. And yes, a lot of it's being based on what my parents and their friends were wearing at the time. So.
The journey that Chris goes on starts very naturalistically in 2013, so that will obviously be lit, costumed and styled in a very naturalistic way. Then we go back into the late 70s, which will have a certain style to it, there'll be sort of oranges and brown tones. And we get back into the comic world, what we want to do is explore the way they use spot colours and specific colour patterns and palettes. You'd often get, as I'm sure people who know comics will understand, you'd often get comics which are drawn just with either black and white or black, white and one other colour. Occasionally two other colours if you were a decent spread. Some comics would have, in the 70s I'm talking about, a lot of comics are full colour nowadays, but in the 1970s some comics would have a colour cover or maybe a colour centre spread, everything else black and white or black, white and one other colour. So what we're trying to do with the costumes, with the lighting and with the projected comic book imagery on the back screen is evoke a sense of those comics and the way they looked. So the lighting will be very, very expressionistic, it'll be quite stylised, and the way that people move within the comics, we're trying to create freeze frame images as if those were the pictures that the artists captured to create the comic books. So physically it will hopefully represent comic books in a way that an audience will recognise and have fun with.
Christopher?
He looks up and around trying to see him.
Fiona, where are you?
In my bedroom. I'm reading the comics you gave me. You're in them.
I know, freaky.
I take it all back. They're far more progressive than I thought they'd be.
Yeah, they are, aren't they, all of a sudden? A couple of questions about that, actually.
Let's get out there and get those 2 precious points.
Fiona, I'll deal with you later.
Chris and Selby exit.
Christopher? Hello?
What?
I think you're going to get to hospital.
I'm not that badly hurt. Bam!
It's not you, it's Mr. Selby.
Now what?
Hold on. This may tickle a bit.
Nobody says hick when they get drunk.
I do.